Gosh, a lot going on. Anybody have a topic that's burning a hole you want to kick around?
Yeah, the Zoom changed the entire look. So I'm just acclimating to this new Zoom look. I just did a Zoom update, so everything looks different.
Oh, really? I haven't.
That's my big thing.
Looks the same.
Yeah, I did an update yesterday, so it's just getting acclimated to new terms here. There's a whole AI companion. It doesn't say, it says lead. Anyway, different icons. That's my big thing today. There we go. Just to keep
Goes, Larry. Just, little changes in life. Nothing big.
Yeah.
They also changed the end button when you do your own now too.
Really? It looks like I
had some sort of little circle with an X in it or something.
Well, Larry and I
think
actually we're gonna.
yeah.
We
Now your
had one.
clients, that could be devastating to them.
Right. Well, we're gonna. We started using a technology called Riverside FM, and I started using it just for the blog post, and now, just for it's been terrific. And talk about it is fantastic. It's like a sports car, right? It's really powerful. It's very high quality, but you got to learn how to drive the darn thing. As you'll see today, Larry and Phil Gafka and Aline are they're going to be guests on the podcast this afternoon to talk about leadership, right? Which is a teaser for a module that Larry and Phil and Aline are going to be leading in the Growth Klatsch Summit. See you all there. So
Yes.
Yeah, I do have a question for you, George. You probably more than any of the rest of us have done this. Have you looked at any sort of online learning management system to create courses for us to have our own material that we put out there for a fee?
Yeah, we have looked at several. Circle that offers that capability, but it is not comparable to some of the others. And I'm trying to think of the name of the one that I asked Izzy to do some research, and she came back, and I frankly, Paul, I will ask her and I'll post it in the community. But put this
I've got an account with it's called Teachable.
Teachable is one
I've heard of that one.
Yep. So we are putting C3D, the certification is going online, and we are putting it in. It's not Teachable. It's another. Anyway, I'll ask her the research and to write a short blurb on why she recommended the one she recommended. But
I'm getting to the point, unlike Joe, who's over in DC and traveling around and stuff, I've got to work towards finding ways to put more stuff online so that I can monetize things, including growth drive stuff. My book, I've had the book out there for 7 or 8 years, and it's chapters and stuff, and I could easily turn that into some sort of a course of some sort.
Sure.
And I need to work on something like that.
Well, and a perfect application for AI, Paul, right? You can have AI narrate the book. You can have AI do a good first draft of a quiz for you. For developing those types of resources. I found castmagic.io to be very helpful. But if you have a chat account, any one of the good AI tools, I'm sure even Perplexity. It's funny. I've started turning to Perplexity instead of ChatGPT. Anyway, but AI be a good tool. I'm looking forward, Paul, as you get that out there. Let me know if I can help.
Sure.
Okay.
Hey, Bill, be my first customer.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. George, in some ways, what Paul's talking about is what some of those guys from not the exit planning, the evaluation group, NACFA.
NACFA?
Remember those guys a few years back wanted to create for a fee where you place courses?
Yes. Yeah, I do. Now that you mention it. Yeah. Well, NACPA's gone largely online, which is what it is. I thought they put on such fantastic live events that it saddens me that that's not happening anymore. There was huge value there. Hey, were any of you at the? Go ahead.
What do you use Teachable for?
Well, for exactly what you're talking about, I've started using it to build out a sales process training platform. Um, and I've only been in it for a couple of months, and I'm just in playing around with it. So that was the intent.
Paid account or freebie demo account for 3 months?
Let's see. This one, gosh, it was the basic. I mean, I paid for it. But it was just very basic.
I know some people that have been able to get into LinkedIn Learning, and they get money from people then subscribing or watching their videos and things. So,
And the only reason I did Teachable is because my wife is a professional photographer, and a lot of her training courses was through that.
okay. Taking advice from a wife is always a good thing to do.
Well, she's went back to teaching for after 9 years, so she last week was her first day back after 9 years teaching 7th and 8th grade math. So maybe she can teach me a thing or two.
I'm early on in Book Lake City right now. Let's see here. Yeah, none of the ones that Perplexity is giving me I recognize. So, okay. Well, we'll figure that out. We released 2 new modules. We're gonna have those. We'll have training on those. We have the schedule. We'll be publishing this week. Kind of threw things in a little bit of a kerfuffle. But the 2 new modules being Simulator and George needs another cup of coffee. Simulator and Leadership. I'm really, really interested to see and how you guys to watch how often you use it and to see what you do. Leadership is a very simple technology. Simulator is very, very complicated, both behind the scenes. Leadership is very simple. It's just assigns the 24 growth driving objectives across 4 functional areas. And it's something that several of you have asked for. I think in the webinar, I referred to John Vettery, who's a leadership, who focuses hard on leadership. He was originally the person that said, hey man, you know what would be handy? And it's like, and I'm looking forward to seeing how you guys use it.
And George, I think you guys, didn't you do a video or a webinar on that last week or a couple weeks ago? Yep, we did. Is that in Circle?
It is. I see it when I logged in to get the passcode for this.
8675309. It's in yes, it's in Circle. It's on YouTube. And I have asked Izzy, you guys go through this, right? As you grow and put out more and more content, it's becoming unruly. Now we got to get all the kittens reorganized for you. And we'll have we're getting those better organized. And with a strong focus on creating resources that you can use in your marketing. Viz, last week's blog post was 5 things to consider when hiring a business advisor. That is a piece of content that we've had for years, that several of you have made really good use of. It's a what we could talk about. We've got a couple of sales gurus here. Where in the funnel that that, what activity would trigger sending that. I think, once a person has qualified themselves a bit, it is also a terrific piece to use with COIs. And I've been doing a show of hands here, if we could, guys. Who gets who gets 80% of their new business from some form of referral or collaboration? Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure Larry's had to be up as well. Paul, where are you? What's your source for new engagements?
Damned if I know. I can trace most of my stuff back to the trucking industry that
Yeah.
I left Daimler Trucks from 12, 13 years ago. Majority of it comes from there somehow. So that would end up having to be referral, but I might say that it's also name recognition in the industry
Sure.
that causes it, because I'm still out there commenting, speaking, arranging, talking to people.
You have an admirable online, you have an admirable online presence. Well, and
Yeah.
you do a great job. Good morning, Mr. Two.
Good morning.
Steve, you just missed the impromptu survey, and I asked for a show of hands who gets 80% or 80% or more of their new business from some form of referral, and everybody's hands went up except for Paul's. And
I'm going to keep mine down.
50%?
Yeah, 50%.
I mean, you do a heck of a lot of marketing also. Okay. Yeah. Mike Garrison is the authority on, saying that it's on referral biz dev is cutting it short. Mike, Chad, you mentioned the sales process. Mike is the absolute dude, or person, not to be misogynist, he is the authority on a structured, referral driven or collaboration driven business development process. Those are a lot of words, but process driven, keeping track, honoring the introduction. I mean, if you read his book, Can I Borrow Your Car? There will be copies handed out at, say it with me, the Growth Drive Summit. In fact, I'm handing out copies at the BEI conference where we will be next week. And how do we take this, the majority of the business we're developing, how do we become even better, and even more time efficient? So that'll be fun.
Hey, Doris, have you ever considered creating you may already have it, I just don't know it, but like a LinkedIn page, a growth drive page, or us?
We have a Growth Drive corporate page. I'll tell you what it is right now. I'll send you the link. Where is me Growth Drive?
I think Chad's thinking of something slightly different in LinkedIn, which is a LinkedIn group.
Yeah. Okay. Can do.
Well, Facebook group just for us. Oh well.
Well, we got Circle.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, which is what Circle's intended to do. We could certainly do a LinkedIn group. But Circle is, it's free to join. It keeps us inside it's everything's in one place then.
Yeah.
I would love, there are, and as with every community, there are people who are very engaged and there are people who are less engaged. And we're going to amp up in, efforts to get people more engaged. Right after I cloned myself, hires like Isabella, Izzy, are designed to do exactly that. Are any of you coming to BEI? I know, Larry, you can't. Are any of you planning on going to BEI? It's going to be a cool conference. So actually, can I continue my stream of consciousness, Leo and Votley? One of the one of the uses for leadership, the leadership module, is collaboration. Imagine you're collaborating with this, let's say, a fractional CFO. We have Jim Bogut from Exec HQ and his community are coming into the growth drive world. We have an increasing number of focused CFO players or coming into the growth drive world. So let's imagine that we're collaborating. We are co-drivers with the CEO, and we're collaborating with the CFO, a fractional CFO. What does that look like? Where do we apply our systems? And so I mentioned Mike because Mike Garrison is niche focused on wealth advisors. Okay, great. Well, wealth advisors play a significant role. According to EPI, they are now the most trusted advisor. All right, well, how do we collaborate with them? And I'm going to challenge you guys on something that I've been intellectually lazy about. I don't know about it. I'm not going to cast aspersions at anyone else. I've been intellectually lazy at saying, well, listen, we don't really make introductions to wealth advisors, and I'm calling BS on that. I think we can. I think we simply need to have the right conversation with our clients. And the conversation is along the lines, because wealth advisors, this needs to be reciprocal, right? So we can't sit and say, hey, wealth advisors, let me in, without returning the favor, without even trying to return the favor, right? Bill, thank you. So, and the conversation goes like this. Hey, let's use Diane Ridge Specialty. Hey, Diane, listen, I know you're with Rick at UBS. Rick's a great guy. In fact, I played golf with him last month. Great guy. And has Rick talked to you about your business and the value of your business as an asset? He hasn't. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. It's not really in most wealth advisors' bailiwick. I've got a guy, Bill Dunnington, that if you're game, you can have a conversation with him. He's not interested in stealing, your 401k from Rick. He and Rick are friends. But Bill has specific expertise in business growth and continuity planning from a wealth advisor perspective. And he might have some ideas about your business as an asset that are worth exploring. Is it worth a few minutes of your time? Well, now we've changed the conversation, right? Because who says no to that? And yeah, right. Who says no to that? So we're going to, I've always pushed it, but I've always suggested it in our launch course and in certification. Now we've rolled those together. We have the launch course, which is onboarding. But in C3D, we are going to have, we're going to talk about that. We're going to sharpen the message even more. And Larry?
Yeah, just to extend that, what some communities have done is in the portal have those specific areas that we have expertise in. So if you look at the community, there can be a lot of overlap, and you can label some of us competitors with each other in that space. But if you dig a little deeper, and only by having it in the portal, there might be, look, Larry has healthcare and pharma experience. That's why someone like Steve Cumming has reached out to me. He could handle a lot of what I do, but he said, I don't have that pharma experience, and this is a pharma client. So if we had the ability to know all these different, like Paul, your whole specialty in manufacturing, but also in many aspects of business elements for that. So that's a way to get to know us better. And it dawned on me 3 weeks ago when I met with two of my friends and business associates that we want to refer. It's very hard for us to articulate so smoothly, like you just did, George, Bill, what we do sometimes. And so if I have good intentions, we have to help each other better know how to articulate and not sell for us, but just in a sentence or two. Oh, you need to meet with Jack because Jack makes monthly financial statements sing. And
Where is Jack, by the way?
yeah,
That.
yeah, I know. And Jack was the guy I was thinking of. And Bob, you got to meet with Jack. I'll set it up. If we get lunch together or we get on a call together, I'll be there for you. I think that's where Mike Garrison's methodology to take that extra effort to help each other. And I think that's a part of what we could, as the whole community matures and grows, help each other with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. You know, yes. Thank you, Larry.
Like Chad, I'm just like, if you really want some elements of sales structure function, right? I do that a little bit. Chad does that. There's overlap, but yet we're not competitors because, you know, Chad's methodology and experience might fit you better than mine does. And so here's an opportunity to have some more nuanced understanding of Chad's work versus Larry's work versus Joe's work and so on. And
Well,
Yeah.
and knowing you guys as I do, I could easily script a conversation, script a case where every single one of you on this call is collaborating inside a client account, coaching, leadership, sales, M&A preparedness, strategic planning, build strategic planning with a strong passion for sustainability and culture. Paul, God, where do I even start? Right? So you guys, the ability to collaborate inside these engagements, and I know you're all doing right. You're all doing it. I know Paul works with Paul Cox a lot. Joe works with Ed Wonky, et cetera, et cetera. It's fantastic, and this is good. It's good for our clients, and by extension, good for our communities and good for us, which is equity. Yeah, man.
Good fences, good neighbors.
Hey, along those lines, George, guys, so I'm in a couple other communities, and I've been pondering posting, hey, in these communities, do you guys know anyone that does X? I don't need it today, but I know I eventually will. But I guess we could do the same thing here in Circle. For example,
Yes.
I mean, I can do some of this too if I wanted to, but is there a so-called process guru in our group or our community someplace?
I'm trying to point at Paul.
I just, went on to growth, and there's a profile for each of us. But it's up to us to make the profile usable.
That's correct.
So John Foster has a lot of information and a lot of links, a lot of tags. Barry Goodman, not so many. And I'm also thinking, George, for your purposes, not everybody on the list of people in Growth Drive is a more paid account, right?
Yes, that is something that's correct. There are people who are, by and large, everyone in there is using Clarity at some level, freemium and up.
Well, my point only was that if we're going to use Growth Drive perhaps in our profiles to give people information about ourselves and where we could be referred in, I would want that, for your sake, to only be those people who are paying for Growth Drive and not getting free referrals.
Above that, yes, is the short answer. And one of the things on Izzy's to-do list is to go in and make sure that we have those tags being done correctly. Right? And that's a mea culpa. Last year, as you guys all know, was an interesting year, and that's one of the things that I had to let go of the reins on that one. But Izzy's doing a great job. She'll get it probably. And sure, she'll have that back.
I don't know if Chad knows about this, but I know somebody from the Sales Acceleration franchise business, and he has a separate little program that is set up for referrals. So when he meets somebody, he gets a statement, and he can connect 30 people after a meeting really quickly. He just puts in 2 names. Everything's already there. Little blurbs that we've provided him that go out. along with contact information. Then it's up to us to follow up on it. So within the profiles, we could have something that says, okay, Paul Menig is, interested in manufacturing, technology, transportation businesses, has all this history. Here's strategic vision, whatever is his things. And Joe is expert in EOS and actually making things accountable and things like that. And Larry in leadership and sales, Chad in sales.
Yeah.
It's up to us to put it in there.
Yeah, and what's cool is I know that there is Paul. Your point is a very, very good one. Bill, thank you. Have a great day, man. Good to see you. And there is a lot of collaboration taking place in the community. Larry just mentioned, Steve Cummings has met Larry. They come to the events. He knows that Larry has a background in pharma, and he has an interest right now, a client opportunity where he needs that special expertise. And so, those guys are collaborating, and, that's by being, Paul, to your point, engaged in the community. That's the main reason that Steve knew, right? What's cool is my phone used to ring all the time. Hey, who do you know who, that does blank. And that happens a lot less, although we see it, we see the interactions happening in the community. I don't get specifics. I can't see what the communications are, but we can see the instances of DMs happening between you guys. And so, very cool. Thank you, Paul. That's a boot in the butt for us to.
Oh, I pulled up my own profile and I can see where it doesn't tell enough.
But it's always, about a year ago, I sat through a workshop put on by Kevin Kniebel, Knebl. And Kevin is a LinkedIn superstar. He's really very, very good. He has a system for doing business development through LinkedIn. One of his focuses is, listen, your LinkedIn profile, my Lord, please. If you were talking to somebody at a cocktail party, he just picked up. He's like, somebody in the room, can I pull up your LinkedIn profile? We called on. That's my last name. It gets a lot of attention. He's like, Sandman, I'm going to pull yours up. Which turned out to be great. Like, he's like, look at this. And my LinkedIn profile was really boring, man. It was, when you hear someone else read it out loud, it was embarrassing. And so he had us go back and, how would you talk to someone at a cocktail party? You would never go to a cocktail party and say accountable for, blah, 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 blah. How would you describe yourself? And if you're doing it on LinkedIn, and you can do it in Circle, make it searchable. Make it so that if someone is looking and they're using the search bar inside Circle, that you've put the words in there that they're likely to be looking for: leadership, M&A prep, etc. And you should definitely be doing that on LinkedIn. Kevin has some really good videos out in the world. He's going to be a guest on a podcast. And as soon as our schedules line up. And anyway, how to describe yourself in a way that people can find. Right?
So, George, as a way to think about this, Chad and I were talking last week about doing some collaborating work, and who's the architect and who's the general contractor, and then when you bring in your specialist, much like EPI talks about this, right, and be able to bring in your specialist. So, Chad, maybe you kind of explain your frustration at saying, I can do some of this work. I feel like I'm getting bogged down in some of that, and not being the architect I need to be, or kind of explain some of your frustrations in that.
Well, we were just talking about, scaling, for myself, and a lot of this I've done on purpose. And what I mean by that is, so I've been taking on, and I've known this, I've been taking on too much responsibility with my clients. Meaning I feel like I'm getting too involved in the weeds and not bringing in other strategic partners, other subject matter experts. I need to be doing that sooner than I have been. And again, I recognize that I'm doing that. Joe was talking about some of his programs and, his fees. And here I am, I'm charging, $5,000 to $7,000 a month for each one of my clients. Well, whether I share that revenue with a subject matter expert or not, I'm not going to be able to scale like I want to by managing every aspect of that client. Does that make sense, Joe? Is that?
Yeah, and then what rolls onto that too, Chad, is that you could very well put yourself in peril, over reliance on one particular client. Now, it's certainly the ebbs and flows of needs of the client and project work and whatnot, but overarching architectural design and then the general contracting work, what we're talking about doing is splitting that out and then bringing in Chad, who's done the exit strategy work, and basically the business broker world has that nailed down. And so, how could he basically start a bunch of potential pots boiling or warming up, and yet not be mired in the details?
Well, I mean,
Because being doesn't mean you should, right?
right. I mean, I can only handle, and I don't know, I would love to hear your guys' feedback. But I mean, for just myself, I mean, I can only handle, 3, maybe 4 at the most when I am, I'm charging, like I said, 5,000 to 7,000 a month. I mean, I can't handle more than 3 or 4 at a time. I'm doing it all myself. Now, if I bring in other partners, right, and I'm following the growth drive process, and I'm doing my best trying to follow that, I want to be able to scale, but I know that in order to do that, I'm going to have to bring in others. I'm going to have to. I'd love to hear guys' feedback on that.
That is exactly what we, thank you, Paul. That is exactly what we teach in certification, right? It's listen, be the architect, be the general contractor. Please don't get pulled into the weeds. And we've had people who have actually become so bogged down in the weeds that it almost drove them out of, well, I don't want to be hyperbolic, but it really hurt their earning potential because they were busy. You devalue yourself and you scrape yourself way too thin. So to your point, if you're the architect, you should get a fee for doing the planning, right? However you decide to charge it. But if you're the general contractor, that is an ongoing relationship. And whether you decide whether you want to say, well, you have to book me for a minimum of 6 months or a year, or listen, it's month by month. I just need, 60 days notice that you're going to, that you're going to wrap our relationship up, whatever, however you do it. But you can take, so guys, who thinks that as being the general contractor and not the SME, the subject matter expert, you can handle 5 clients a month? That's what I'm hearing from, that's what I hear from the community with G-Link, which to your point, Chad, 5 clients who are getting served well as the co-driver, right? As the peer to the CEO. What does the CEO do? Maximize shareholder value within the context of the vision and mission. So you're helping them do that. Now you have, if it's just you have $35,000 a month of earning potential plus any additional projects you elect to take on. Never mind if you get into fee sharing. I have always found to be a mess myself, but that's up to you. I know that some of you, I won't out you, but some of you do it very effectively. And I've also heard people really struggle with it. So, does that all make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely, George. And again, I recognize that. I recognize, that. And I mean, I have to look in the mirror quite a bit and say, hey, practice what you preach here, Chad. Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my goal, I would love to get, somewhere between about 15 clients, and whatever role I'm in. But I know that I can't do it unless I start bringing other people on board or start bringing in subject matter experts. I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, with that being said, just for example, several of the deals that I've had, over the last, I don't know, year and a half, 2 years, those have been truly, 6 months to a year engagements on helping them prepare to sell. So I feel like I service my clients very well. I feel like they certainly have gotten their ROI and they will get ROI. But again, that going back to my challenge of scaling, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to hear. I mean, how many clients do you guys have?
I think if you could unlock it, it could be a role model for all of them.
What's that, Larry? What's that, Larry?
Breaking apart when I thought,
Yeah.
breaking apart. Oh, it's made to keep going, keep going.
Well, no, I would love to hear, how many clients can you guys handle at once?
Chad, one of the things I use, since I'm trying to do only retainers and move towards being a business advisor or a board of directors, there's a lot of literature and studies that you can't really handle more than 4 board positions at a time.
Right.
Now, there are people out there who are not only doing 7, but they're also running a company as a CEO at the same time.
Right.
They're not doing a good job with any of that, with what they're doing. So if you look at the people who train and have the big organizations for directors, they're suggesting 4 is a good number there for that. For me right now, I have 3 retainer clients. I would like to have 1 or 2 more. And then in addition to that, I do my pro bono work with SCORE, which takes, maybe 3 to 5 hours a week, talking with people. Some of it's intense and some of it stretches out over a long time because it depends on how dedicated they are to really doing things. And those are really simple calls, a Zoom for an hour, send them some emails, and it's all whether or not they follow up on what they're doing. The others are obviously more intense. And when I started consulting, people told me 30% actually doing consulting, 30% learning about consulting, and 30% keeping track of the consulting. And I didn't believe them. I thought, oh, no, I'll just do consulting. Well, they were right. It takes a lot of time to make sure that you're going to BEI and learning, going to Growth Drive Summit to make sure that you're up to date on everything. That's a chunk of time trying to do that. And then, closing books, making sure you're developing new materials, whatever it may be is a chunk of time too. So
Paul, about how much time do you spend with each client per week or per month?
one is a trade association, and so every morning I'm reading my literature in the trade journals that are online, copying materials and putting them into a twice a month newsletter that goes out to all of the members. So that's combining serving my client with keeping myself current in what's going on in the industry. In addition to that, we have 2 meetings a year. I'm in the final throes of getting ready for our meeting in DC, October 8th to 10th right now, lining up speakers. So on any one day, it's 3 hours maybe that I'm putting in right now for that. And then board meetings, I'm pretty good at throwing together the board materials in 2 hours. in advance of a board meeting. So that's one of them as a typical type of thing I would be doing. If I have a client in the wood industry, I'll learn a lot more about wood industry, and I'll be putting more time into learning about the wood industry so that I can help them early on with what they're doing.
Yeah.
Does that help a little, Chad?
Yeah, no, I absolutely. That makes complete sense. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. Go ahead, Larry. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to ask Chad, are most of your clients in the Memphis area, or do you extend beyond that drives?
Well, I am. I'm in Nashville, Larry, but
Sorry, that's
yeah, most of them have been in the Middle Tennessee or Tennessee market. But I mean, I think we all understand that, we can have clients anywhere. Yeah.
true, and I do. I've California-based client for years and never been there. Done it all remote. Most of it on the phone, not even on Zoom.
Yeah.
And where I see this work well is less where we pulling from a whole list of people, but more creating your little local teams, or even if the local team extends out to other regions of the country. Like locally here, the model I've used is working with Jack Cox, and we got to get Jack back in this community. And some of you probably remember Jack. Jack's former CFO of 3 companies. He's an M&A guy. He's an exit planning certified. He is what I am not. And it's great for Jack. Take care, Steve. It's great for Jack to work with me. I bring him in under my company umbrella. I pay him, or he partners and the client pays him. But we have worked well together and it does a few things. One is it expands our reach. It expands our expertise we could bring. It diminishes the load on our shoulders to share it. And it's very motivating to work in a team environment as well. And it's fun to do that. We're better together. And Jack and I have had about 4 clients together, including helping companies sell, which is not my expertise. I set them up, did all the operational strength growth to prepare them for a higher valuation. Jack did all the magic on the exit planning side. So I would say that not loosely, but more established, forming a pod for you, Chad, where you're these are your go-to people to form that team, is better than maybe just checking the portal to say who you could bring in.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Larry. I've got 2 CPAs that those are my 2 go-to folks. I've got, 2 or 3 business attorneys that I've got for my go-to. And I collaborate with them quite a bit. I've got a couple of different very solid marketing companies and people that I go to. But again, I've got to look in the mirror though, Larry. I've got to know when to bring them in and quit being so controlling over my clients.
Well, be specific. Name a type of person that you don't have on that team that you think would be a great team member for you to quarterback.
HR. HR professional. And that's one. I'm pretty good at the overall operation side, but I'd love to have a subject matter experts on operations.
HR, yeah. Like I have now someone in marketing and social media.
Yeah, I've got that covered.
Yeah. And I've connected.
Right now I've got a client. I've got a client right now. It's a $32 million revenue client. I've got them listed for sale. Yeah. There's a lot of work. I mean, it's 110 years old. 5 partners, and they're just an absolute mess from every aspect.
Did you run, I'm curious,
Yes.
have you run them through Clarity?
Yeah.
What's their strategic capacity?
I don't remember. I mean, I don't know. I've got it in there if you want to look at it.
So how often do I hear, "Oh, they're an absolute mess"? I absolutely love that, Chad. I'd love to talk to you about this case. Because yeah, they're a mess. They want to go to market. And
I mean, I had told them no. I told them no. I was just honest with them. That second play, I said, look, if you guys want to work with me, which I hope you do, my recommendation is that we pump the brakes here for 3 to 6 months. Let's clean some things up, and here are the areas that's going to move the needle the most. Now, when you've got one of the partners, 70 years old, he's a military guy, he's an attorney, he's an engineer. He's, it's his way or no way. That's the challenge, that I'm fighting here. I mean, the low hanging fruit on this one was the marketing. I mean, they're spending $1.5 million a year on marketing. And I mean, I've already identified, easily, $500,000 that we need to reallocate to other areas, to get a better return. So, but yeah, I'm working through that one. But yes, I have, George, and I'm having each partner go through Clarity. Matter of fact, I had meetings with 2 of the partners yesterday. And remember, these guys are old school. So what I did, I actually printed off the questionnaire. And I went through the Clarity questionnaire with them yesterday. So I've got that recorded.
That's terrific. And you know that if you need a senior leadership alignment report, you just let us know the names.
Yeah.
And I will absolutely, we'll get that together for you.
And then while I'm on that, George, so I've got a private equity group here, a local one, that I've known for, I don't know, 8 years. I'm pretty tight with these guys. And I've been poking at them about Growth Drive for a while. Now, they've got 35 portfolio companies. I would probably say out of those 35, probably 15 or so, maybe 20, would be ideal for me to run through Growth Drive with.
Yeah.
So if I could get something set up with the partners of this private equity group, is that something you would be open to being involved with for a demo?
100%. Absolutely. I would argue that they should be running it with every single one of their portfolio companies. I would be highly interested. I've been brought in for this exact use case before. And private equity is really interesting because with a private equity group, right, they buy a business and strategy lives at the peg, and they put an operator in to execute the strategy. And so then when we start talking about communication between the business, the operator, and the Fed, using a system like Clarity just creates a common language and a common understanding and common insights across the business. We Chad, I'd love to. Okay, say one.
All right, sounds good.
So I'd like to take a moment to try to answer the original question that was posed 20 minutes ago to Chad. And the way I kind of look at it, and we've been continuing to dialogue, but let's just use this as an example. So think about all your fees and where are your fees coming from in 2024, and what would you like them to be in 2025? So kind of on a very intentional basis, say, do I want to be just in the the design side of it, where the fees come in there, and then look at the execution side, and then the specialty side, right? So that you say you're doing some marketing, sales, training, whatnot. You got to break your fee down to understand. And then if you were to go back in and say, what's the most common denominator, or what was that KPI that would tell you whether or not you're getting a return on your hours applied, is probably your billable rate. So, and then what brings you passion too, right? So not everything is driven by money, but what's that lead to? And the very bottom is what you're expert in and exit planning, right? So do I have a plan in which I'm driving everybody to that exit? And how often am I getting distracted by someone that doesn't really, see that as a near term outcome? And if I'm monkeying around with people that are just will never get in transition mode, then maybe those are the people you need to fish off to other resources and really focus on your end game. The end game is prep somebody for an exit. So I would just look at what you're really passionate about, and it's that whole delegate and elevate exercise, right?
Absolutely, Joe, man, you're spot on the money. So, Joe, thank you very much, because you just hit on something that we often fail to eat our own dog food, right? Do you have, for your advisory business, you're running a business, it's not a practice, it's not a game. This is a very serious business you're running. This is how you provide for your family, for your employees, etc. Do you have a vision, mission, and strategy, right? And often we don't, and we don't say, you know what, this is what I do. And when you articulate that to the market, this is something else that's in the C3D certification. And those of you who have been through it have heard me say this before. You must niche yourself. And when you niche yourself, you are not telling other people to go away. To the contrary, you're saying, this is what I do. And you will have, Paul will have a medical practice self-identify in, because Paul will be talking about, maybe it is a manufacturing issue, or opportunity, expertise, whatever, but you will have, I'm just using something really disparate, a med practice say, Paul, I know you work with manufacturers, but we have that problem. And so, Joe, you're spot on. How do you qualify clients? What is the work you love doing? What is the highest and best use of your time? All right, I'll get off myself. I totally agree. In short, yes, Joe, I totally agree.
Well, what do you exchange your life for, right? What's that dash? You just go, fundamentally, that's what I've been, work with senior executives all the time. And we want to do something different, but we're not really willing to look back and analyze and say, well, maybe just, and I think Chad, he was very self-effacing early on, which is perfect. We have to look in the mirror, myself included, and say, what are we doing to really advance what we really want to do? Yet we're talented in many different areas, but and it's so much easier to just do it yourself, right? I mean, we can all admit that it's easier to, talk to yourself about when a project's due, instead of having to go out and, develop a relationship and, put a scope of work together and try to manage that scope of work versus just do it ourselves. And yet, that's what George and I have been talking about, this whole 5 steps to freedom tool that coaches coach, and Chad's actually one that introduced me to it, but it's a really great way to process that accountability for whatever the clarity comes up with. And that's where Ed and I are putting that together, is to say, he really would rather stay as the architect and then have that nitty gritty stuff done, by myself, by my services as a coach. And we're still formulating that together. We have a couple clients that we're doing that with. And but one of the things that struck me is something that, as we talk about bundled services, and I remember running my, I don't know, they were $9 million contracting company, and I would go down my finger down the P&L, right? The P&L, 10,000, and Every time it ran over 10,000, it made me pause, right? It's we got to understand the buyer and how they account for
Yeah.
the investment you're talking about. Because if we're not tying it back to an outcome, and this is what the things about the clarity is, that we're able to kind of effectively monetize the work that we're doing. That's how we commit to the 10x, right? But if we can't do that, and I'm involved with another organization that it's all about, buying, closing the client, but they're not keeping the client. They're spilling out in the back end because they're not retaining the client, because we're not reinforcing the value. So when they see that dollar amount spent and they're not seeing the ROI, and we're going to be coming into some rough weather. I firmly believe there's something about this this particular election and this particular forecast. I know there's a depression pitched for 2030, but I think we're going to go into some sort of recession. Not everybody, but our clients are going to feel the pinch, and they're going to be looking for ways to cut back, not add on. So I think we have some rough sailing going on if we believe that we're going to be able to just come into these things and just are on I think the sales, there's a sales opportunity here in a very big way.
Yeah, Joe, and I'm going to. I have a blog post half written coming back to this the concept of resilience for ourselves and for our clients. Thanks, Joe. That's a great reminder. Hey guys, still 1 minute left.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to go. All right, Jonah. Another great conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, you have a big week. Anything I can do to help? Let me know.